If we want to see the big picture, we have to raise our consciousness levels. And in raising our consciousness levels, we see so much. We realize that we're imprisoned and that there is a way to get free, and it's called enlightenment.
How did the Tao Te Ching help you on your spiritual journey?
It was written by Lao Tzu. He was a Taoist. And I loved Taoism. I loved the idea of being that small. Because in Taoism it's all about being nothing, about being yin. And in yin we find beingness. In yin we find heart. And so I was very attracted to Taoism, and I was very interested in Tao Te Ching because I made it my Bible for about 10 years.
What is your favourite part of Lao Tzu's approach to enlightenment?
It's about developing the yin qualities rather than the yang qualities, learning to be receptive instead of expressive, learning to be inward instead of outward. If we can become yin, we can find heart and we can find beingness. But to be yin, we have to be surrendered. And that's one of the hardest things for a human being to do, because we're survival mechanisms by nature, and surrender is not part of survival. Resistance is. So most people resist their whole lives. They never get around to surrendering, and so they never learn how to surrender. I learned that surrender is achieved through acceptance of life as it is and let go. Two things. Acceptance of life as it is and let go.
There's a few sayings from the Tao Te Ching that I've got here. One is, knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. What does it mean to know myself?
Yeah, well, they're not talking about knowing the mind. They're talking about knowing self as beingness. And so when we know self as beingness, we've gone beyond the mind. The saying can also be put to knowing others is intelligence, and knowing self is wisdom can be knowing your own mind and how it proceeds, how it operates, its hidden agendas. There's a certain wisdom in that, because if you can see through your own mind, you don't get caught in it, because you remove the obstacles. People who can't see through their mind get caught in it all the time. They don't see it. As consciousness levels rise, you see through the mind. You see the consequences of everything that you say and do. You don't miss. In lower consciousness, you miss all the time because you don't see the consequences of what you're doing and what you're saying. And so you could say that if we want to see the big picture, we have to raise our consciousness levels. And in raising our consciousness levels, we see so much. We realize that we're imprisoned and that there is a way to get free, and it's called enlightenment.
Next saying that I've got here is, the highest good is like water. What is it to be like water?
To be like water is to be in flow, to be able to move without being stuck. To be like water is part of Kung Fu. To be that fluid all the time. And if you can be fluid, that fluid all the time, wow, you can have a very nice life because you're not stuck anywhere.
What stops people from being in flow all the time?
Basically, resistance to life. The moment we resist life, we move out of flow. And it is human nature to resist life. It is human nature to say no. In yes, we stay in flow, and in no, we move out of flow. We get stuck. Being in flow is very beautiful. Then life becomes a game. Not being in flow is terrible. And unfortunately, most people on the planet are not in flow. They're caught in resistance to life as it is. Victims of this, victims of that. But that's a choice. You can choose to not be a victim. You can choose to not volunteer to be a victim. Bad things happen. You don't have to turn yourself into a victim of them. It's up to you. To stay in flow, you can't afford to be a victim of anything.
The final saying I've got here is stop thinking and your problems.
Well, it's obvious. If you're not thinking, there is no problems. So someone who can obtain no mind lives in no problems. And then the mind gets engaged again and it does what it was programmed to do at school, which is look for problems and solve them. And so most human adults live in that world of solving problems, becoming little doaholics. And that takes you further and further away from truth, further and further away from heart. But it's what we were all programmed to do at school.